Hunter x Hunter has given us some of the most terrifying villains in anime history. We've seen the unpredictable madness of Hisoka, the cold genius of Chrollo, and even the overwhelming presence of Meruem, a king whose existence shook the world. Each of them showed us just how dangerous and unforgettable an antagonist in this series can be. But as the manga continues, we're introduced to villains who take that darkness even further. Characters that don't just threaten their enemies, but embody ideologies so twisted they could consume entire nations. Today we're exploring three of the most chilling figures in the Hunter x Hunter universe: Morena, Tserriednich, and Pariston Hill. I do Hunter x Hunter scaling videos and character deep dives like this all the time. So, if you're enjoying this kind of content, make sure to subscribe and join the journey. We're pushing to hit 1,000 subscribers soon, and your subscription is greatly appreciated. In the Hunter x Hunter universe, we've seen villains fueled by greed, obsession, and hunger for power. But Morena is different. She doesn't want to conquer the world. She doesn't want to sit on Kaken's throne. Morena wants humanity itself to disappear, erased in fire and blood. And the terrifying part is that her belief isn't baseless madness. It was shaped by the nightmare she was born into. Morena is a leader of the Highly family, one of Kaken's underworld mafia clans. But unlike the other crime bosses who operate for profit or influence, her leadership feels more like priesthood. To her, the mafia isn't an organization. It's a cult, a vehicle to spread her vision of extinction. Her story begins inside the brutal hierarchy of Kaken's society. Born into the lowest rungs of a system designed to exploit and discard the weak, Morena inherited not wealth or privilege, but trauma. Her mother was one of countless women abused and broken by Kaken's machinery of power. Abandoned as a child, Morena was left in an orphanage. But orphanage in Kaken meant something closer to a slaughterhouse. Children were treated not as humans, but as resources, sorted, used, and discarded. Surviving such a system stripped her of any faith in human compassion. In her eyes, kindness was an illusion, morality a lie, and humanity itself a disease. That's why Morena's ideology is simple yet horrifying. If humanity is rotten, then humanity must end. Her Nen ability, Contagion of Chaos, is the perfect reflection of this worldview. By marking or kissing someone, she infects them with a murderous impulse. The moment they kill, they are bound to her cause, gaining new power in exchange for every life they take. The more they kill, the stronger they become. It's evolution through bloodshed. And here lies the genius of her ability. It doesn't create order, it creates a decentralized virus. Morena doesn't need to command her followers. She simply gives them the gift of chaos and lets them spread it. In the confined space of the Black Whale, where Kaken's princes and armies are already at each other's throats, this is a recipe for absolute anarchy. What makes Morena even more dangerous is her charisma. She doesn't look like the kind of person who wants to annihilate humanity. She speaks calmly, she smiles, she reassures. But beneath that poise is a woman who sees death not as a tragedy, but as liberation. To those lost, broken, or disillusioned with the world, her words feel like truth. That's how she builds her cult, not just with fear, but with belief. And the implications of her presence are enormous. In the Succession War, every prince is focused on survival and the throne. But Morena plays a different game. Her cult isn't fighting for territory or inheritance. They're destabilizing the entire voyage, killing indiscriminately, feeding their own power, and threatening to turn the expedition into a bloodbath before it even reaches the Dark Continent. That's what sets Morena apart from other villains we've known. Hisoka kills because it excites him. Chrollo steals to fuel his phantom troupe. Meruem sought purpose as a king. But for Morena, she kills because she wants everything to end. She doesn't represent greed or ambition. She represents nihilism in its purest, most terrifying form. If Morena embodies nihilism, then Tserriednich is the face of sadism in its purest form. The fourth prince of Kaken is not just one of the most dangerous contenders in the Succession War, he is one of the most chilling characters Togashi has ever written. Unlike Morena, who was shaped by trauma, Tserriednich was raised in privilege, and that is what makes him truly horrifying. He had every advantage, every luxury, every opportunity to live without cruelty. Yet, he chose it anyway. As a prince of Kaken's royal family, Tserriednich grew up surrounded by power and influence. But instead of developing compassion or responsibility, he developed an obsession. To him, life itself became a canvas, and suffering became his medium. People weren't individuals with dignity. They were objects, tools to be reshaped, broken, or destroyed in pursuit of his twisted art. Tserriednich's sadism is most clearly expressed in his fascination with beauty, especially women he deems refined or perfect. To him, beauty is not something to admire, but something to corrupt. He takes pleasure in destroying what others hold sacred, in reducing perfection to ruin. It's not random cruelty, it's ritualized, deliberate, and in his mind, artistic. But Tserriednich isn't just a sadist, he's a prodigy. When it comes to Nen, his talent is nothing short of terrifying. In just 2 weeks of training, he achieved a level of control and mastery that takes most years to develop. His Nen ability, future vision, allows him to see a few seconds into the future. In combat, this is almost insurmountable, a constant awareness of what's about to happen, giving him the ability to counter or strike with terrifying precision. On top of this, Tserriednich is the only prince known to possess 2 guardian spirit beasts, each one grotesque and otherworldly, reflecting the corruption within him. Their design alone mirrors his monstrous personality, serving as an extension of his warped will. Combined with his intelligence and ruthlessness, Tserriednich is arguably the most lethal contender in the Succession War. What makes him so terrifying, however, isn't just his abilities, it's his mindset. Unlike Morena, who wants to destroy humanity, Tserriednich sees himself as above it. He believes himself to be a god in the making, untouchable by morality or law. He doesn't simply kill, he elevates cruelty into a form of worship of himself. His obsession with the scarlet eyes of the Kurta clan ties him directly to Kurapika's fate. The eyes, already a symbol of tragedy, become another masterpiece in his collection, a trophy that reveals just how deeply he enjoys desecrating what others see as sacred. This sets the stage for a confrontation that goes beyond politics. For Kurapika, it isn't just about protecting Prince Wobble or surviving the war. It's about facing the embodiment of everything he despises: cruelty, arrogance, and the destruction of innocence. In the story of Hunter x Hunter, Tserriednich's survival represents the darkest possible outcome. His rapid growth, his unmatched talent, and his complete lack of empathy make him a wild card who could reshape not just the future of Kaken, but the entire world. Where other villains seek power for a purpose, Tserriednich seeks only to indulge his own sadistic vision, a predator who sees fear and pain not as byproducts, but as art. And that is what makes him perhaps the scariest of all. Morena wants to end humanity, but Tserriednich, he wants to twist it into something grotesque and call it beautiful. While Morena spreads chaos through sheer hatred and nihilism, seeking to erase humanity itself, and Tserriednich indulges his sadistic obsessions, turning suffering into art, Pariston Hill takes a different approach. He doesn't destroy for revenge, ideology, or pleasure. Instead, he manipulates plays and orchestrates events from the shadows, turning the world into his personal game, making him one of the most unpredictable and dangerous figures in the Hunter x Hunter universe. Pariston was once the vice chairman of the Hunter Association, second only to Isaac Netero. To most, he appeared cheerful, lighthearted, even harmless. He laughed easily, cracked jokes, and never lost his polite demeanor. But beneath that smile lurked one of the most manipulative minds in the entire series. Unlike Morena, Pariston doesn't seek humanity's destruction. Unlike Tserriednich, he doesn't crave domination or sadistic thrills. Pariston thrives on something more subtle: chaos itself. For him, life is a game. People are pawns, their emotions pieces on a board. He doesn't act to win in the traditional sense. He acts to create reactions: anger, despair, fear, even hatred. These are his prizes. Watching the world spiral into confusion is his entertainment. During his time in the association, Pariston turned this philosophy into a weapon. He constantly played games with the other Zodiacs, creating tension, division, and frustration, all while keeping his cheerful mask intact. No matter how much the others despised him, they could never catch him breaking a rule. And that was his true strength. His enemies couldn't expose him without looking like fools themselves. But Pariston's games didn't end with politics. Hidden beneath his harmless persona lies something far darker: his personal army of 5,000 Chimera ant soldiers, each trained in Nen. While the rest of the world celebrated the extermination of the Chimera ants, Pariston quietly collected the remnants, shaping them into a force capable of challenging entire nations. And yet, he hasn't unleashed them. Why? Because for Pariston, the game isn't ready yet. His patience shows the depth of his manipulation. He doesn't strike for power. He waits for the moment that will cause the most chaos. His rivalry with Jean Freaks gives us the clearest glimpse into his character. Where Jean is reckless but sincere, Pariston is calculating and insincere. Jean seeks knowledge and adventure for his own sake. Pariston, on the other hand, seeks reactions. Their conflict isn't just personal. It represents a clash of philosophies. One fights to uncover truths. the other fights to twist them. What makes Pariston especially terrifying is that his goals are nearly impossible to predict. He isn't tied to ideology, revenge, or power. He is bound only to the joy of manipulation, to the endless thrill of keeping everyone else guessing. In the grand story of Hunter x Hunter, Pariston is less a villain in the traditional sense, and more a destabilizer. His influence doesn't burn like Morena's cult, or crush like Tserriednich's throne. It corrodes slowly, invisibly, until the foundations of trust collapse. He represents a type of evil far harder to fight because you never know if you're already playing his game, and that's what makes him unforgettable. While Morena spreads death like a virus and Tserriednich twists fear into art, Pariston smiles. He smiles as he watches the world unravel, and the scariest part is knowing that every step you take against him might be exactly what he wanted from the start.